It was supposed to be the comeback of the year. The Duchess of Sussex, reborn in the fashion capital of the world, dressed in snow-white Balenciaga, sunglasses sharp enough to cut tension, and camera flashes chasing her down the cobblestone streets of Paris. But behind the velvet ropes and champagne smiles was a secret so embarrassing, so explosive, that even the palace couldn't stay quiet. Because when the hotel receipts leaked, everything changed. And suddenly, Meghan Markle's Paris dream became a full-blown scandal, one that may have shattered her brand, rocked her marriage, and exposed far more than she ever expected. No press junket, no official announcement, just whispers. Paris had been buzzing for weeks. Rumors floated that Meghan Markle might make a surprise entrance at Fashion Week, not as a guest, as the moment. And then she appeared, wearing a custom white Balenciaga cape and oversized shades. Meghan floated through the doors of the Hotel Plaza Athénée like a scene from a movie. Flashbulbs went off. Influencers gasped. She looked every bit the Hollywood royalty turned global humanitarian she'd spent years trying to become. She posted behind-the-scenes clips for her millions of Instagram followers, reunited with Simone Ashley, smiled for Vogue cameras, and inside the Balenciaga show, she rubbed shoulders with Anna Wintour and Anne Hathaway like she never left the spotlight. To many, it looked like a triumphant return, but what most didn't know was that Meghan hadn't even been invited. According to the designer, she reached out personally, saying she'd love to attend the show, and that's when things started to unravel. At first, the fashion world was dazzled. After all, it had been a while since Meghan had stepped into a room with that much power, that much attention. But beneath the surface, whispers started spreading. Why was Meghan aligning herself with Balenciaga, a brand still recovering from a deeply controversial ad campaign? Why the sudden push to be front row after months of quiet? And most urgently, who was paying for all this? Because Meghan wasn't just visiting Paris, she was living it up. A penthouse suite at one of the most expensive hotels in the world, private drivers, full glam team, 24-hour security, and not a single booking made under her name. That's when the receipts dropped. A French gossip outlet published what appeared to be real hotel invoices, showing a six-figure stay, tens of thousands on accommodations alone. Add the stylists, the jets, the perks, and you're looking at a luxury weekend fit for a queen. Only Meghan wasn't footing the bill. So who was? Initial rumors pointed to Balenciaga. After all, she was seated at their show, photographed in their designs, even thanked them online. But when pressed, the brand responded fast and hard. No, they hadn't paid for her trip. No, they hadn't signed a sponsorship agreement. And no, they didn't know their name was being used to unlock VIP perks. One insider even claimed Meghan had implied a deal that didn't exist just to access top-tier accommodations. And just like that, the internet exploded. Memes took over. Tweets joked about Meghan forgetting her wallet in Paris. TikToks layered her red carpet walk with audio about faking it till you make it. Some even accused her of filming near the tunnel where Princess Diana died, trying to stir emotional headlines. It was absurd, but the controversy stuck. Meanwhile, Meghan went completely silent online. No new posts, no responses, nothing. And back in California, things were reportedly much worse. Because according to insiders, Prince Harry had no idea. He believed the trip was approved. He thought it had gone through the proper PR channels. And when he discovered that someone else had picked up the tab behind the scenes, he was livid. This wasn't just a media blunder. It was a betrayal. But things were about to get even worse. Because soon, investigators found out who really paid for Meghan Markle's Paris fantasy. And it wasn't her. It wasn't Arcuel. It wasn't Balenciaga. It was a Hollywood media investor. A wealthy man with past ties to Meghan. A man whose name hadn't been linked to her publicly in years. Payments were traced to an entertainment firm he partially owned. The same firm Meghan allegedly pitched her with Love Meghan lifestyle series to months before Paris. Let's call him Mr. X. When that name hit the press, the scandal turned radioactive. What had been an awkward fashion story became a headline-generating frenzy. Was Meghan accepting personal favors to stage her comeback? Was this a business deal or something more? The speculation was relentless. And in Montecito, insiders say the atmosphere turned to ice. Harry was devastated. Meghan shattered. One source said they barely spoke for days. Curtains stayed drawn. Calls went unanswered. Meghan canceled appearances and vanished from public view. Because this wasn't just a PR mistake. It was personal. She'd believed Paris would mark her rebirth, that she could rewrite the narrative with a single look, but instead it all collapsed. And with it came the fallout. Luxury brands allegedly began blacklisting her behind the scenes. Fashion houses pulled out of deals. Stylists ghosted. One top insider reportedly said, the second Balenciaga denied her, everyone realized she doesn't have the pull she used to. Even Meghan's supporters started turning. One tweet went viral. If she's lying about a hotel stay, what else has she lied about? Her team, once so tightly knit, began to unravel too. Rumors swirled that a staffer had warned Meghan not to use Mr. X's name for bookings without an agreement. She ignored the advice. That assistant quietly resigned. And through it all, the palace watched. Royal insiders smirked. One aide reportedly joked that the only royal thing about her Paris trip was the bill. Another said this proved Meghan was still chasing influence the old-fashioned way by getting others to pay for it. Even King Charles was said to be disappointed, not shocked, just tired of the drama. And then came the final blow. Multiple outlets began reporting that a UK documentary team had acquired the hotel receipts, that they were working on an exposé, one that would show exactly who paid, how it was arranged, and how deep the deception went. So now the fairy tale is over. What began as a dazzling last-minute appearance at Paris Fashion Week is now a cautionary tale in reputation and reality. Meghan Markle's attempt at a second act may have cost her more than just headlines. It may have burned the very bridges she hoped to rebuild. Her fashion comeback has turned into a PR disaster. Her marriage, according to insiders, is strained beyond belief. And her brand, once defined by elegance and empowerment, is now under a cloud of mistrust. Because no matter how perfectly you pose for the cameras, the truth always finds a way to surface. And this time it showed up in the form of a hotel bill. One that didn't just reveal who paid, it revealed everything. But even as the dust started to settle, something darker began to take hold. Because this wasn't just a one-off embarrassment, this was different. This had legs. Every few days a new article popped up. New angles, new leaks, rumors that more than just hotel receipts had been uncovered. That emails existed between Meghan and Mr. X discussing terms, expectations, and possible deliverables tied to her Paris presence. That a photo of them dining together, months before the fashion show, had quietly circulated in Hollywood back channels. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from scandal to strategy. Was Meghan using personal connections to fund public appearances? Was this just the latest in a long pattern? And most importantly, was Harry really in the dark? That question lit up the press like gasoline on a match. Because for all his talk of transparency, of breaking free from the royal machine, Harry had become a silent partner in a new kind of performance. One where image mattered more than truth. And where trust between spouses, between the couple and their audience, had started to erode. Insiders say he was struggling behind the scenes, that he felt isolated, that Meghan's decisions, while ambitious, were blindsiding him more and more often, that their once carefully coordinated image was fracturing in real time, and the world noticed. Gone were the smiling interviews, the Netflix glow-ups, the tightly packaged moments of unity. In their place, long silences, stiff photo ops, and whispers from Montecito that all was not well behind the gates. Even longtime allies in the media began pulling back. Profiles once eager to paint Meghan as misunderstood now hesitated. Editors questioned whether her comeback arc had any weight left. Was this just a fashion misstep, or a sign of something deeper unraveling? Because here's the thing about trust. Once it breaks, it echoes. And Meghan's carefully built narrative of authenticity, empowerment, elegance was now under siege, not just from critics, but from within her own base. Supporters began asking the unthinkable. If this was all built on smoke and mirrors, how much of the Meghan they admired had been real? And for Meghan, that question cut deeper than any headline ever could. Friends said she was devastated, that she felt cornered, that she'd convinced herself this was her big moment, her rebirth, not just for the public, but for herself. She'd spent months planning, preparing, curating every detail, and yet it had all collapsed in less than a week. She wasn't just embarrassed, she was exposed, because for someone who once fled the monarchy to reclaim control of her life, the irony was crushing. She had walked into Paris determined to write her own fairy tale. Instead, she'd handed the pen to the tabloids, again. And now there are whispers that even Netflix is re-evaluating its relationship with the Sussexes, that studio execs are frustrated, that projects in development are being quietly paused or reconsidered. After all, when scandal outpaces story, investors get nervous. One source said it plainly. If the trust's gone, the deals won't survive. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just a leaked receipt, not just a botched appearance, but a public unraveling of trust across every front. With the media, with fans, with brands, and possibly with each other. Because somewhere in Montecito, behind the high hedges and silent phones, a question is being asked. Can Meghan bounce back? Is there still time to rewrite the ending? Or has the world finally stopped listening? One thing is certain, Paris wasn't just a trip, it was a turning point. And now, with a documentary rumored to be in production, emails floating through inboxes, and old allies going quiet, the next chapter might not be something Meghan gets to write. This time, it's being written for her, by the people who saved the receipts,